Welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Chat Room. Elevate your mind, elevate your life. It's your host, Lonzo Jones. Got my guy, Dwayne Malone, behind the scenes doing what he do. We got another guest on the show tonight. His name is Micah Mcculloch. But before I introduce him, let me introduce the topic. The topic for tonight is the right direction, navigating careers and tough choices. Micah Mcculloch is a JAG specialist at Carver County High School. Micah, kind of tell them who you really are and what you do.
For the most part, I am what they call a JAG specialist, which for the national portion is Jobs for Alabama Graduate or America's Graduates. I am Jobs for Alabama Graduates, being here in the state of Alabama. We are a little centralized, so we try to personalize things to kind of be how we are and how we make it. My main goal is to help children make difficult decisions as far as what life choices they want to make, not based off of the bad or the good that they've had throughout the years, but to be able to get them to a point to where they're comfortable with the bad decisions and understand people make them, and we're going to be able to bypass those and move forward. We don't have to be stuck where we are. We got to keep moving our feet to get where we're going. So, I kind of work with all of that. I have the luxury of having a wonderful wife, child. I got a little boy. He's 9. He's in sports. I keep him motivated. I help coach their youth teams. I try to stay involved with them as much as possible. And I really just truly have a passion for helping other people.
Sweet. Yeah, I've definitely seen you around. And, man, when I came to the JAG ceremony you guys had, I didn't know how impactful this program was until I got there and I saw all the kids and how you can just tell the maturity and the growth that you see in them. Like, even though they may come from this background, you could not tell that. Mm-hmm. And that was so amazing. And then I saw the love that they have for you. So you must be down there killing it, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a lot, man. The kids got a lot of different backgrounds. You have some, that deal with mental health, some that deal with the loss of loved ones, whether siblings, parents, close relatives, anything of that nature. You have some who have domestic violence households who, parents are on drugs, so now they're having to live with grandparents or aunts or friends. And to be able to put them in a position and to be able to motivate them day in and day out to want to strive to be better and not to just mope in what they got going on in their situation, man, that's so impactful to me to just be able to watch them elevate and to be able to be who they need to be and when they need to be it.
Sweet. Well, you can tell first off, that you enjoy what you do. You can tell you got a passion for it, and you can tell you really care about these kids because the way you're talking, is obvious. So it seems like, man, they looked up and found you. So how did you come across this JAG position?
All right, so actually, I was at Florence before I was at Carver County High School, and I love working with kids. But the way that I worked there was kind of more so of I didn't have as much time with each individual kid, so I knew I wanted to be somewhere to whereas instead of 15 minutes, maybe every week and a half, 2 weeks of seeing one kid, that I wanted to be in the kids' lives every day. Yeah. I feel like you make an impact when you're present. And I seen this job opportunity, and I looked at it and talked to my wife about it because we talked about it, prayed about it, talked about it, prayed about it. And I was finally given the opportunity in an interview to go on in. I did the interview. They called me a couple of days later and had informed me that the job was available to me. I knew right there. I didn't have to think about it. I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want to go for. I have the ability to work with, every type of kid that piques my interest. Yeah. I don't go into a room and say, I want the kid that I have no problems with. I don't go into the room and say, I got a difficult kid today. I don't want to go to class today. I want those that everybody feels cannot be successful because they have a story. And just because their first 2 chapters are not where you wanted them to be, or where you have some kids who may be valedictorians, salutatorians, or something like that, or you have the ability to get those children on a higher pedestal. And sometimes that pedestal may end up in life being higher than the ones that were salutatorians and valedictorians. They just did not have a great few chapters of their life, but that's not their whole book. It's just a chapter.
That's good. And that kind of reminds me, we was at Sheffield High School yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. and it was like we was talking about how some kids have a setback, and instead of looking at it as like a knockout, it's a setback and not a knockout. So basically in life, you're going to have some setbacks, but you can't allow each and everything to cause you to, to get knocked out of the fight of life. And so what you were saying is like, yeah, I got some kids that have been set back. I got some kids that are behind because their first 2 chapters aren't as good. But man, we got this whole book to write. Then you got a chance to paint a masterpiece, and you the painter.
And it's a lot of times, and I compare sometimes to my kids. I'm like, look, when you go on a trip, you put it in your GPS, you roll, you go in there. You don't know the roads. You don't know what's lying ahead of you. Sometimes you miss your exit. That doesn't mean the trip and where you're trying to get to is canceled. Right. All it means is that it's postponed and delayed, and you have to turn around to get right back to where you're going. That's good. You just got to be able to travel through it.
That's good. I like that. Well, you need to be on more panels and talk and podcasts and speaking about what you got going on, because you're speaking from a place that I can feel it. You know what I'm saying? You're knowledgeable and you love it, and it's refreshing, because a lot of times you look at these people working these jobs and it's just a job. But to you, it's more than that. It's more than that. So what common mistakes do young people make when choosing a career path, and how can they avoid that?
All right. So the biggest part that I have come into is that social media and a lot of TV and those various things have our kids' minds to whereas they want that immediate gratification to be able to get to where they want to get to instantly. A lot of the kids don't realize the work that you have to put in behind it, the work that you have to do to study for all of these things, the tests that you have to take, the national boards for some of these things. Back in the day, you could be grandfathered into a lot of different trades and different things of that nature as long as you had the hours and the time.
Yeah.
For me, before I started, because I'm also a funeral director and mortician, about 3 years before I started my schooling, you could be grandfathered in. So you would not have had to go through the strenuous college style that I had to go through for that degree. But now, you have to actually go to school for that. You have to go to school or get your certifications for certain welding and certain things like that. So the way that they're used to, and a lot of them have the mindset, especially, in your rural areas, is that I can just do this. My dad welded, my granddad welded, I'm just going to go weld.
Yeah.
Well, in this way, it's not the case. So they don't go in with the mindset or understanding that it's going to take levels to get to where you want to get to. There is no, I'm going to weld for 20 years and not going to do anything else. You have to go through training. So to be able for them to understand that there are steps to get where you want to be, it's not going to be something that happens overnight, maybe 6 months, maybe 6 years. Yeah. You never know. But just for them to have a reality check of you're going to have to put in the work.
Yeah, man, you spot on. I agree with you, man. And it's like we call it instant gratification over delayed satisfaction. We have to, and my coach in high school would say that, like that, those exact terms, he would say that. And he was just talking about even back then, it's worse now. The microwave culture now is, like I said, social media makes it seem like if you ain't wealthy or rich or got a certain body or doing this or doing that, then you ain't doing nothing. You ain't accomplishing nothing in life. You're not successful. You're not even on your way to success. And they paint that picture. And now it's like, well, I want. So that's why it's very important to teach our kids that money is earned. Like, it ain't just given. You know what I'm saying? Like, I may be giving you this money, but I earned it. Now there's certain things in my house that I will make my boys earn. But sometimes we do give because they're still kids. But we have to understand as we're training them up, and even like you said with your students, no, you got to go earn this money.
And you wouldn't believe, and it's not, it's not just 1 or 2 students. These are multiple students that don't realize, like, it's not going to happen overnight. This stuff is not going to come to you. You have some that, well, I want to be a YouTube game designer, or I want to be, some type of social media sensation. That requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money and donations to try to put things in. And it's just difficult to do. That's why the percentage is so small. Yeah, you see these people on there, but if you look at the amount that tried, I believe it's at 7%.
Yeah.
That even make it enough to be able to do anything with their lifestyle.
Yeah. I can see that because, man, and I think a thing that hurts them too is that when they see a guy that has all these followings or a female that has all these followings, they think it happened overnight.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the behind the scenes work that they really put in.
Mm-hmm.
All they know is like, oh, I found this guy, Mr. Beast, and he got millions of followers.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Beast wasn't always Mr. Beast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He was a little puppy when he first started. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he had to climb. Now, once you get to a certain level, you can put more money into it, more into your marketing and things like that. But bro, everybody starts pretty much on the same spot, same low level.
And that's been something that we've been trying to promote, and something that, you know, we even did it this past Tuesday. My JAG class traveled up to Birmingham, Alabama to do the state JAG competition.
Okay.
They have a full session of JAG students networking with each other. So for them to understand the impact that networking makes, to be able to meet someone that is in a different area, or they may have a little bit more knowledge than them, but can help them gain the abilities that they need.
Yeah.
That can take them such a long way, because that relationship through social media and networking promotes them. It gets them followers. Yes, it does help you to be able to be friends with those followers that they're friends with. So now you got friends that's friends that's friends, and you're able to motivate them. But we're in a culture to where kids would rather just text you rather than talk to you.
Yeah.
So to force them into a room to have a conversation with another student, it was tremendous to see, because believe it or not, they excelled at it. They met kids, they, you know, added, you know, people on social media. All of my kids have LinkedIn accounts. So they've, you know, been able to exchange their LinkedIn business things with different kids and different organizations, and they're building a profile for themselves.
Man, you got these kids on a good path. You got a plan that you're executing, and you understand that it's a step-by-step process yourself, even with dealing with these kids. Mm-hmm. So, man, keep it up, bro.
Yeah. Like, I'm doing what they let me.
Man, that is like, and I noticed also, not only did the kids love you, but the staff and the administration love you. Man, they're like, they could not talk good enough about you. Like, they just kept like, no, he's been like the best thing that's happened to these kids. He was the right man for the job. Mm-hmm. So keep that up, man. Keep motivating them and keep being an example, you know, because, you know, when you got these kids looking up to you, mm-hmm. you know, it's an accountability level now you got to measure up to. Oh, yeah. You know, so just keep all that in mind as you go forth. But obviously, you're doing a great job, so keep that up.
No, thank you.
All right, so how do you balance your roles as a speed and track coach, JAG specialist, funeral director, and what drives each passion?
All right. Yeah, it is a lot. I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh my goodness, you do 50,000 things. Really the passion that drives it is my ability to help others.
Okay.
I have a heart to help, a heart to give anytime I'm able to. But you know, I see kids in their lowest points. I have kids that they have become accustomed to being able to pull me to the side and to speak to me, and they know that they have that room and that time to where they can be honest. And, you know, a lot of teachers, you know, if you're in a history class, you're in an English class, you're in a math class, you're instructing. You have instructional time that you have to give. The comfort part about my class is that I have a little bit more unstructured, because I get the ability to observe. I get to see, okay, so-and-so is acting a little different than they normally do. Let me see if I can go holler and see what's going on with her. You know, those are different things that I can look at and see, to whereas when you're a teacher and you have this amount of time that you have to instruct, sometimes you miss that part.
Okay.
So to have the ability to deal with each individual issue independently based off of my experiences and the things that I've encountered through my life, it helps me to motivate the children how I need to. The same way at the funeral home. You know, when I'm there, you know, I do most of the embalming. I am really the only embalmer there. I look at it as a way for something to be a memory to the families that are coming in. When they come in, you know, anytime you have death or a situation like that, everyone comes in thinking the worst. I'm not going to be able to see so-and-so, or, you know, my loved one is gone. Well, if I can bring you in and the only thing you have to worry about is sitting there and picking a color compared to who's going to be on this, what song are we going to play, what are we going to do, I feel like I'm alleviating that pain for that moment to be able to keep that stress down on you. So really just the drive to just want to help people, to just want to help make things easier, but also to leave an impact. And that's the biggest part, is leaving an impact that they can remember.
Gotcha. And what about the speed coach?
Speed coach, yeah, but it goes to especially with my high school because I do coach at track at Carver County. Um, I try to transition everything that they do over to their real life. I had one situation here recently which cracked me up. I'm at a young lady who wants to get her hair done for prom, and we have a track meet the day before. So I told her, she was like, I'm not gonna be able to make the track meet. I'm not gonna be able to, I gotta go get my hair done, gotta get my nails done, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But I treat it like a job. My question was, have you asked your hairstylist if they can move your appointment? Have you asked your nail person, a nail tech, can they move their appointment? The reason why I asked her to do that, and she didn't realize it at all. She thought I was being mean at first. And I let her go through the whole day with that on her mind. But she did both those things. And I informed her that the same way that you will have a job, if you can't make it, you have to show that you've tried everything in your power to make that happen. So I try to teach them things like that so that they understand that not only, yes, it is track, but it relates to what you're doing in life.
Yeah.
So as long as you've shown that you've done everything, you can only do what's in your control. At that point, you have to make a decision.
Yeah, you was showing her that your first responsibility, which was a prior responsibility, was to track meet. Mm-hmm. So now you gotta, go back and see, hey, make some adjustments and see if you can still fulfill your assignment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it held her accountable and made her think, critical thinking skills, made her solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And also showed her, like you said, that in the future, when something happens, I know how to handle it. Mm-hmm. So that's good stuff. What is your degree in?
All right, I have a few degrees. I got criminal justice, was my first degree, bachelor's in criminal justice. I have a mortuary science degree and an applied science degree.
Okay. So how did you, I could have sworn that I met you long before I started coaching your kid or even knew you had a kid. You was doing some mental health work.
Yes. When I was in college, I had a lady by the name of Liz James, who I believe is the board director over at Riverbend now.
Okay.
She is one of my great friends, and she actually I had met her through a lady, I can't even think of what her name is, but I met her, and she introduced me and Miss Liz. At the time, they had a position called summer camp, which is basically a camp that children who don't do well through the summer without instruction and returning to school can come to. So they still receive their counseling services and those various things. So I started doing that. I did that for about 3 years when I was home from college, from track in college. And she came to me one day and said that I have a job available for you on our adult unit for ACT team, which is basically going out in the community and making sure that anyone, that we have on our caseload with mental health issues were taken care of.
Yeah.
And didn't fall through the cracks. That is where you met me, I believe, at the Social Security office one day.
Yes.
When we were working on some, getting some checks and things and, making sure things were started back from one that I believe was hospitalized. So that's how I got started with that portion of it when you met me.
Cool.
But that's where I first learned that I want to deal with at-risk or mental health or some type of disability as far as it pertains to children.
That's sweet, man. Yeah, I was like, I remember this guy when I came across your path. I've seen this guy before, and I meet a lot of people, not just at my job, but through community stuff that I'm involved in. So it's hard for me sometimes to remember where I met this person at. But I remember you coming to the Social Security office. Now, so with all the things that you're doing, you talked about your passion with it. How do you balance all these things? Like, when do you have time to coach and do a funeral and, work your, like, how does that look?
The first person is going to be my wife.
Okay.
My wife takes a lot of time away from certain things that she could have time doing. She knows that I love what I do. Luckily, I have a wife that understands and respects the things that I do, and she understands that I'm doing it in the purpose of helping others.
Yeah.
I try to make the most time as I can with my child and my wife, and I think I do a decent job considering the things that I do. She ain't fussed at me lately, so I guess it's okay.
They always find something to complain about though.
Right. But you know, she gets a pretty good bit, and she has. We have days to whereas, especially when it's been just crazy at funeral
Yeah.
home, and it's been just I've been at work every day, and then it's in the middle of a season. It's taxing at times, but luckily she loves me through it.
Okay.
And that within itself is a lot. That she basically picks up that strength when I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I should do that, but she encourages me and she'll tell me, hey, go ahead and do it. She'd be like, yeah, I don't like the fact that you'll be gone for a part of this night or you've been gone for 2 days, but do what you got to do, help them out.
Yeah.
So as long as I got somebody that's in my corner that I know is like that, my child's taken care of, and I'm taken care of as far as just the ability to be able to go do the things that I love. I can't ask for much more than that.
Gotcha. So your wife helps you balance, and she
Mhm.
keeps everything pretty much intact for
She
you.
keeps everything intact because I am ADHD, ADD to the max.
Yeah.
And I can't keep up with my schedule from one day to the next,
Yeah.
as far as it goes. But she keeps all of that wrangled up. How she keeps her sanity should probably be the real question. But she plays a really big part in making sure that I got what I need.
That's what's up, man. It's always good to see couples teamed up together and both willing to make certain sacrifices and both on the same team. They see the goal, they see the purpose. Because I know Dwayne had to have that talk with his, not just his wife, but his kids when he first started the Rescue Me Project.
Mhm.
Like, look, boys, I'm going to be away, what I'm saying, trying to be a father figure for other kids. I just need to make sure y'all cool with that, because you get so used to your dad being there all the time at your access whenever you want to, now he's out helping other kids, and then they would come to the center when they was young and we was in a whole nother location and everything. But yeah, man, you definitely have to have family on board.
Oh,
I agree. And they have to see that you're not doing it just to be doing it. It's like, no, like I got to do this.
Mhm.
If I don't do this, like there's a void that's in me now. And so like, that's just how it has to be if it's going to function at a high level.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that's how it is on your part. Now, do you mind sharing a success story of one of your students that you help put them on the path or put them in the right direction?
Whew. It's kind of tough to narrow it down. I will say for right now, which I deal with, I have I think 46 kids right now. It's currently on my caseload that comes in my classroom on a day in day out basis. That's the ones that are listed on my roster. I have a bunch of kids in school that come through, just to whether it's the vent, whether it's just a debrief, just whatever it is that they need to do. Um, to try to pick one story, I guess, just some of the kids have the same issues, different stories.
Yeah.
But I have found a influx of the kids that when I started, I had some who would come in and, I was already told, they're not going to do assignments. They're not going to do this. First week, I ain't doing it. That's the first thing they would tell me. I wouldn't even have the PowerPoint up and we're not doing it. And at that point, I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll get there, because I'm not going to give up on a kid no matter what you got going on. And the more I spoke with them and the more that they realized that I'm checking in on them, I'm seeing them, I'm doing what I can for them, they started to buy in. So I have one who she had failed 2 courses prior to this August year. So the beginning of 24-25 this school year. And she had 2 or 3 credit recovery courses. First day, I'm not doing them. I don't know why they put them on my schedule. I was like, here we go. So a week or so passed. I asked again, hey, you want to try to work on this? Because every Wednesday we do what's called academic remediation. We use that day as a mental health day. If you got all your work caught up, you can kind of relax and chill.
Yeah.
I got a little classroom area outside they can go sit at. And so we, if you have work that you need to work on, we work on it. So I had spoken to her about a week or so later, and I ain't doing it. Tried again. About the third week, after talking to her, and instead of me being upset and not talking to her or fussing at her and telling, well, you're gonna get a 0, you're gonna get this, I kept letting it ride. About the fourth week or so, I handed out an assignment and she completed it. And I was like, well, okay, maybe she's just feeling great today. Well, about a week or two later, I gave another assignment, and at this point, she started to kind of open up and talk a little bit. Well, about the 2 or 3 weeks after that, I have the moment where, as if a kid needs to speak with me, I go in between, which is where I have a connecting classroom to speak with them so that I always have someone in the room when I speak. If we're alone, I have another teacher or adult. And she had disclosed her home life and the things that were going on. And she had dealt with the fear of 2 visits from DHR coming to take her. She said she didn't feel the need to do anything because what was the point? They were just going to come get her and she was going to move. Mm. And, you try to encourage a child as far as that goes, and you do everything in your will to make sure they stay motivated, but you can't go home with the child.
That's good.
So we started to kind of present some various things to her, or I started to prevent some or show her some things, to cope with some of the things that were going on. And I said, let's work here and let's work towards leaving the situation. The best way to leave the situation is to be successful despite the circumstances we're encountering. Since then, she has completed all of her credit recovery work. She said that she was bored and has picked up a Spanish assignment, and she is not failing a single course.
Awesome.
She is an 11th grader, and she will be a senior next year. Hopefully, she will continue the roadmap that we have set up right now. I have 21 seniors in my senior class for JAG. 20 of them have at least 2 college offers.
That's awesome.
So the only way that they would not go to college will be based off of their own personal decision. They've been accepted.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And see, man, one thing when you was talking about everything you said, when you was talking about when the certain girl finally started and the other guy that finally started doing and the assignments, it was like they bought in that you cared. Mm-hmm. Like they really bought in. Like that's what I picked up is like you cared. So like love, it crosses all boundaries, know. And it was some quote that was like they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if they don't know you really care, then they can care less about what you're talking about. So the fact that you built that rapport, you built that relationship, you showed them, sympathy and empathy, and you gave them grace and you showed them love. You showed them that you really, really like, no, I really care about you. Mm-hmm. So I'm a check on you every week until you decide to do the work.
Yeah. And sometimes, that turns into every day. Like some days, she may be in her third period class. So whereas I know during this point of the day, I have certain students that are booking out. They're zoning out. They're frustrated because they've been sitting in class for 2 hours already. They in another class that they got to sit at. And sometimes I go pull it from class, just say, hey, you good? You need a minute? How's everything going? Bet, I got you. And that's all they need. By the time they get to my class, they may have a 6 period. They good.
Yeah.
And the fact of you went to check on them to show that you cared, they're going to trust you with everything they got. They will go to fight behind me because of all the things that I've done for them.
Yeah.
So, it's great to have those type of kids, and it's great that they are buying into what we're offering. It makes the job easier, but it definitely makes the environment so much more plentiful to grow.
Yes.
So, I could bring in a kid and they may come in and they may not have my class. And they may say, I want the class. I'm having issues here and there. Sometimes I don't even have to talk to the students. My students do it for me. They go meet with that student. They talk about, hey, this is what his class is. Now, you're not going to be able to do this, but he going to look out for you and have your back. And to have other kids that are letting the children in your school know that, hey, he's going to have your back. He's going to do what he needs to do to help you if you just let him help you. You don't have to do that much work because your students are doing it for you. What you're pouring into those students is pouring out into the school. So therefore, by the time it reaches you, it's already got a little bit mixed in with it. All you got to do is just pour the rest.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
good stuff,
definitely
bro.
it's definitely helpful.
Well, you know what you're doing. And like I said, the impact that you're making is going to change these kids' lives. Like we always say, like, well, I want to change lives. Like you're really doing that. You know what I'm saying? One kid at a time. Whether it's all the kids, 5 of the kids, 30% of the kids, it don't matter. You're changing lives. You know what I'm saying? We don't control how many is actually going to receive what we're giving, but our job is to sow them seeds.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just keep sowing, keep sowing, keep sowing. What? This is good stuff, man. You just never know what's going on out there, what people are actually involved with. You never know the impact that somebody is making. You just think, oh yeah, he just, so he go to work over to someplace, do something with Jag, and he a track coach. But do not minimize anybody's role. Don't devalue anybody's role. Because if we're interacting with people, we got a chance to make an impact and change people's lives for the best. Whether it's through words, whether it's through resources, finances, presence, whatever it is, you have the ability on any job, any position, any role, any title to maximize that. So let's make sure we keep that in mind as we go forward. Now, what role does mentorship play in helping young people make tough life choices?
All right. So as far as mentorship and as far as my kids, I'm an open book. I use any life struggles that I've dealt with. Anything that, when it comes to my choices, I tell my kids all the time, some of my kids, they've been in the juvenile court system, which I've worked in the juvenile court system for years as a juvenile probation officer before. But, I've been in the system, to where I've seen how kids act. But I've also been on the other side, and I've been a teenager before. The thing that I tell them, the luxury for me, I didn't get caught. That's the only difference between me and you, is that I didn't get caught. I made horrible choices. I, got beat down 50,000 times by my parents and different things based off of the decisions that I made. Am I ashamed of them? No. Am I happy about them? No. But at the same time, they helped mold me into who I am today. Yeah. I'm 33 years old.
Well, you young.
I continue.
What?
33 years old. I continue to make mistakes. I don't always make the best choices. But I learned from my choices enough to be able to explain to the kids, like, you don't want to do that because I done been down that path. I've seen how it happens, and I've either experienced it or I've been very close to it.
Yeah.
So, to be able to just let them know, make a choice, that you feel is in the best interest. And if it's not the right one, or if it's one that, doesn't come out with the outcome you want, it doesn't negate the fact of what you got. Now, when it comes to mentors, I feel like as long as they have a mentor that is going to be honest and is going to really be looking to change their behavior and their mindset based off of reality.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people that go into it, they go to college, they go learn all these different methods of, okay, this is how you persuade these kids, this is how you build them up. A lot of these kids don't want what you bring it from a book. They want you to bring what it is, how they feel, because when you've been through it or you've dealt with it or you've seen it or handled it firsthand, they pick up on that.
Yeah, they want the real. They want the real.
They pick up on it. You come at them with a book, or if you say, well, how are you feeling today? Or I bet you're feeling like this. They don't care about that. They do not care about that.
Yeah, it comes out fake and it's not authentic.
And they know it. These kids are not dumb.
They're not. They're not. They're very smart.
But when you go and you say, okay, trust me, I guarantee you I know. Well, how do you know? And to be able to say, well, I know because of X, Y, Z, and because I ain't just a teacher. I wasn't always just a teacher or somebody that's been living the right way their whole life. I hate to say it, but it's the reality. So to, be able to give it to them and they be like, oh, and then you make remarks in the way that you say things. It's like, oh, he ain't playing. Like he really did. Like, how would he know that? And once you get that part of them and you have a mentor that they realize that, okay, they're doing pretty good, they buy in.
Yeah.
And when they buy in, they bought because they're going to give you everything they got.
That's good stuff. I noticed that with mentorship, it's like the more transparent you are with your story and with your life, it makes them easier for them to relate to you. So now when I'm giving you advice, like you were saying, it's kind of like, well, he ain't just talking just to be talking. It's like, well, he's experienced some things. And it's funny because we'll sometimes do icebreakers with the group session with the kids, and like 2 truths and a lie. and they never can guess my lie because it's like, dude, it was like that can't. They was like, this cannot be true about you. I was like, no, it is. You know the Zoe from 2025, 2024. You don't know the Zoe from high school, early college years. So when you tell them this, it's like, oh, so he did some this, he did some that. So I'm like, yeah, like, so even though I may be, 15, 20, 30 years older than these kids, like I've been there. And if I ain't did it, I know somebody that did it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody I've connected to a scene has done some crazy stuff.
And they realize that, and they pick up on it. They know when you're being genuine and when you're not.
Yeah.
And but once you are, and they realize it, man, I'm telling you, it's a relationship with children that it doesn't go away, and they hold on to that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what their situation is, you become their fallback person. It can be the hardest day of their life. I've had kids that have lost parents while in my class this year. And the first thing that they do is fall back my way. I have we do what we call follow-up through our organization, whereas majority of the students have my number. Which everything, I keep documented and everything through our JAG system. But, when things happen, they contact me. Of course, I contact who I need to at the school, depending on the basis of what it is. But, I have a whole group that will sit there and say, I'm not talking to anybody else till you get there. And it's not a selfish thing. It's just they're comfortable. They're in a world where everything they do, they feel judged, whether it's by an adult or whether it's their peers. So in order to keep from that, they go to where they have the trusted resource. So, I feel like the more mentors you have that are available that can be resourceful to these children, the more you're going to get through. I may not be able to get through some of the things that you may be able to get through with them with, but if we put both of us together, imagine what we can accomplish.
I agree, bro. Mentorship, I think, is one thing that is sometimes gets a negative spin to it because they think, oh, you got a mentor and something's wrong with you. No, everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs somebody that thinks different or thinks higher. You can't just be around people that's on your level if you're trying to grow. So it's very important to find mentors, link up with mentors, especially find you a mentor that's kind of doing what you want to do or that you admire, that you look up to, and then just kind of let him, train you, build you up, or let her train you and build you up to where you're trying to go. I think a lot of times also when we talk about mentorship, we sometimes pick the wrong people. And I think the students get burned because they've been judged by this person. It could be a parent, and they can go in there and tell this parent some information. The next thing you know, they either telling their friends about it or they using it, throwing it back up in their face. So if you had a bad experience with a mentor, don't let it cancel out you finding the next mentor. So find you somebody that will not judge you, as you mentioned, that is going to do it in love. When we go to the juvenile detention center, that's one of the first things that we always say. Dwayne is known for saying, hey, look, we're not here to judge you. We're not here to judge you. We are not here to judge you. Like, get that under. And then not only are we not here to judge you, man, we're here on our own time, our own dime. We're here for free. So we're doing this out of love. This ain't got nothing to do with no paycheck. So we have to make sure we kind of let them know that so they don't think we're here just doing something just to be doing it. It's like, no, we're here on assignment. We're here to sow some seeds into your life. We're here to change your life if you're willing to listen. We're here to water some seeds that's already been planted. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And sometimes, you have to motivate in that way, because sometimes you have to go to kids and say, I'm not here about the decision you made. I'm here to guide you in the direction you're going.
Come on.
So sometimes, kids, they've already made the decision. It's not my point to sit up here and keep bringing it up and bash you and talk about you and say what you should have done different. That's not what you need sometimes. Sometimes what you need is, okay, where do we go from here?
There you go.
How do we get there?
There you go.
Yeah, we took a step back, but guess what? We can move forward. I'm pushing behind you. All you got to do is keep walking. I keep pushing.
That's good.
So once they get there, they there.
And we always like to say, now what? Okay, all this happened. Okay, now what? So what we going to do now? Daddy wasn't here. Mama did this, blah, 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 blah. Now what? I'm done talking about that. We done rehearsing that. Okay, now let's work on healing from it. Because you still got that trauma you got to do. Let's work on healing from it. But now, what? So from here on forward, let's get a plan, let's get a goal, and let's start taking these steps towards it. And see, and sometimes you have to switch to that tough love. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, okay, I'm showing up. Daddy here now. Daddy mode is clicked in. Like, now I'm finna give you this fatherly advice. You know what I'm saying? I'm hitting you from that angle, that tough love type angle. But yeah, man, like I said, what you're doing is amazing. Like I said, your knowledge of what you got going on, your passion of what you have going on, your understanding of mentorship and the impact that it makes and how you go about it, man, you could tell that it's a gift because it comes off to be, you know, done with no effort. It's just like, this is just what I do.
And it is. I mean, it's honestly, man, like I said, I wake up in the morning excited to go to work, you know, and I get there. I have kids that share a building with me that we're into. They're running in when I pull up. I mean, and that's just the vibe that I want to always keep in that classroom, because when you're having a rough day and you walk into my classroom, I want you to feel relief. To know if I'm going through something, I got a listening ear. I know I got somebody that's going to support me. I know that if I'm lost, I know that somebody can start wrangling me back in. And, you know, to know that the kids have that, and for me to know that they have it, it helps me sleep at night.
That's good.
Because, you know, I know that if something goes wrong or if my kid has a bad night or issue at home, they're going to come talk to me about it. And then they don't. And I typically see, you know, if they're having an issue, they're waiting for the right time. But they're going to come. Yeah. And to know that they do that, man, I'm telling you, it makes me feel so much better, and it makes me know that, you know, they want better. Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff, man. So let me ask you this, though. So we're dealing with students, talking about your students. So how do you help your students stay motivated when they face setback in sports, school, or just in life in general? How do you help them stay motivated and push through?
The biggest part is, like I said a little bit earlier, comes from being a product of your environment, what you're going to have to go home to every day. You know, I have them for an hour a day. Sometimes I have them come back there with me, sometimes 2 hours a day. But I can't take away the stuff that they may have to deal with at home. What I try to do is line it up so that they understand that there are ways to cope with certain things that are healthy. And then I also make sure that they've been notified of the unhealthy ways. But the biggest part is trying to help them find the motivation that they need. And sometimes that comes from, you know, if they're living in a home to where, you know, there is a drug addicted parent, or if there is a single parent household and the parent is low income and those different things. How can we help make that home a better life for you? And sometimes it's a job. You know, some of them want to work. I mean, a lot of my kids want to work. Some of them don't have the ability to get to work and do those various things. So they have to start implementing what I call career plans. And it is, okay, you know that you don't like living the way that you're living, but how can you get out of it on your own? The only way to do it is going to be through education. It's going to be through learning a trade. Well, okay, here we go. We have auto mechanic over here. We have welding classes over here. To whereas if you really started and you get enrolled and you do what you're supposed to, you could be just about done with your welding certification by the time you finish high school.
Come on.
So you finish those things while you're, you know, going through the rough patch. Yes, a rough patch, but here goes the thing. It's just a patch. And nobody say it was a never-ending road. It's a bump in the road, which means you're going to get over it. You just got to make sure you keep going. If you stop, you're going to stay stuck on the bump. You got to go clean over it, get to where you need to go to, and you got success on the other side of the road. Just keep going.
You own it. I mean, bro, like you saying some of the things that we say when we go speak to these kids, like in assemblies or panel discussions or just at the detention centers, like you really understand. You can tell you know how to relate to these kids, you know how to reach the kids based off just your answers in the interview that we're doing tonight. So, man, we definitely was going to have to get you out with us. Like real talk, because you have such a vast background too and experience with the youth from different perspectives and different angles. So yeah, man, I like I said, I've enjoyed listening to your answers, man, because it's been spot on. It's been spot on. It's been spot on. Let me ask you this last question, and then we'll get ready to close this thing out, man. You laughing at Wayne? Man, it's been a long week for your boy. Woo. But anyways, so this last question we got for you. If you can give one piece of advice, one piece of career advice, or life advice to a student, what would it be?
The biggest thing that I would try to encourage and instill in mine, and it's what I do right now, is going to be don't let your current circumstance determine your future outcome. And it's because no matter what is thrown at you right now, as long as you keep moving forward, you will get the end result that you want. Do not ever allow your current situation, whether negative, the worst moment of your life, dictate where you can go from here. The ceiling is as high as you want it to be. Keep moving.
Well, you own it. Well, I like that answer. Like we always say, we'll never give up. You know, that's easy to say, but it's like, no, when you really dealing with life, just realize, like you said earlier, it's a patch. It's a moment, you know, so don't allow this moment and your emotions and your feelings to dictate, you know, a decision based off something that's temporary that cause, you know what I'm saying, a permanent problem in the future. So yeah, man, where can they find you at? Like, you have social media, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, which my name Micah Mcculloch. You can pull me up on there. We are fixing to launch our Carver County JAG page. I got somebody working on that. Hopefully that'll be up within the next month or so. So you can kind of follow our kids' journeys. You'll be able to see all the competitions we compete in. The different volunteer things that we do around our community. You know, we help with the homeless. We did a sock drive, make sure we got socks for the homeless. We do elementary day, fall festivals we volunteer at. You know, we try to be a big part of the community the best that we can, and we'll love to help if anybody has anything that they'd be interested in us helping with. But for the most part, you know, just contact me on there. Be more than happy to help the best I can.
All right, and tell them how they spell your first and last name so they know exactly what to type in.
All right, first name is Micah, and my last name is Mcculloch.
That's Micah McCulloch. Y'all got that. Reach out to this man. He's doing great things here in the Shoals area, especially down in Carver County. Contact him. Like, he really didn't talk much about the speed stuff he do too. So if you got a young athlete that's trying to, you know, get their speed up, reach out to him for that. Reach out if you guys need some volunteers, some young people to volunteer. Anything else, my guy?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, that's going to be the end of our episode. Another episode of the Elevated Chat Room. Elevate your mind, elevate your life. We out.